it was passed on from generation to generation, and it was passed on from your parents and your parents' parents in the society around you. I didn't grow up around entrepreneurs. I grew up around people who were very resilient, people who had overcome adversity, and people who felt that the way that they overcame adversity was the way that you should continue to overcome adversity.
What if the truth came in a gel cap and we could just pop it in our mouths and forget about it? Well, it doesn't. And we can't. But we can laugh in the face of reality while plotting our survival. Welcome to the Truth Tastes Funny podcast. I am your host, Hirsch Redpun. And if my guests can handle the truth, so can you. Open wide, folks. Here it comes. My guest today on Truth Tastes Funny is Michael Blunt. Michael is an entrepreneur and executive mind coach. He has an MBA, but he dropped out of the corporate picture, and now he helps people shatter the negative perceptions and conditioning that they have, so they can achieve their wildest dreams. Welcome, Michael, to Truth Tastes Funny.
Hey, Hirsch, how's it going? And welcome, Hirsch's audience. Pleasure to meet
Yeah,
you.
it's great to have you. I there was one thing that you said that that depression was the greatest thing that ever happened to you.
Mhm.
And I think that's a great place to start because a lot of times when people tune in, they're tuning in because they want to be uplifted, but you got to figure out where you lifted yourself up from, right?
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
so share a little bit about what the thought was behind that statement.
Well, I mean, listen, if I didn't go through depression, if I didn't have thoughts of suicide, if I didn't land in the hospital from, feeling anxiety and being overworked and overwhelmed and overlooked and all those different things, I wouldn't have a story to tell.
Yeah.
So my spirit knew I needed a story to tell. If my life was so perfect, then what would I really have to work on and what I really have to build? And I think that's what people need to understand is that with after intention comes disruption. After clarity comes disruption. So you might have clarity and intention on what you want to do, but you have to go through that disruption in order to build the resiliency, in order to have confidence at the end of the day to consistently build your reality. And
Yeah.
I didn't understand that at first. But when I began to create my model, my framework for, my students and my community, and then I understood like every time I set a really clear intention, something always pops up or something always happens. And I thought I was doing it wrong. And actually, that's an indication that I'm doing it right. So in retrospect, when I look back at my depression, it was after I decided that I didn't want to be in this position anymore of living for other people. I didn't want to be in the position anymore where I had to essentially sell my soul and give so much of myself and leave a piece of myself at home and not show up authentically, in the reality that I wanted to create the life that I wanted to live. And after that disruption is when I started building the resiliency to really move into the next phases of my life, which is where I am now, building the business, having a home, and the wife, the kids, all the things that I always dreamed of when I was younger, I'm now able to physically realize that and experience it.
Yeah, and you say you're now able to physically realize and experience that. So now take us back a little bit, to what life was like before. What kind of triggered this journey?
Life was like before, where I was really following other people's lives. I thought that I was supposed to work in corporate America, climb the corporate ladder, have a 401k, get a dog or a cat. I have a cat now, so and have the partnership and the kids and then retire at age 65. That's what I thought that I was supposed to do.
Well, where did you, Michael, get that notion from? How did
Well,
that develop?
it was inherited. It was passed on from generation to generation, and it was passed on from your parents and your parents' parents in the society around you. I didn't grow up around entrepreneurs. I grew up around people who were very resilient, people who had overcome adversity, and people who felt that the way that they overcame adversity was the way that you should continue to overcome adversity. And sometimes we have to look back and say, I have a deep appreciation for the people who came before me and set the path, but that model and that mode is outdated now. And that's when you start breaking some of the generational patterns because they're no longer relevant in today's world. Just like, you might look back and say, hey, if you type, if you use a typewriter and you type your resume and you personally hand it to somebody in your business cards, then that's going to ensure that you get a job because that's what my grandfather did. That's what my father did. But now that's just not relevant. Now it's you send it electronically if you even send a resume or you show yourself and you have a personal brand, yes brand, and people recognize you and they say, "Hey, I want to work with you." So it's more about the value that you provide rather than the accomplishments that you had over the years. And that paradigm has shifted. And so that's the
Mhm.
same thing that happened with me.
Well, and that brings an interesting question up, which is, it's hard to track when things change, like saying, oh, when I was a kid, and everybody feels like their experience is unique, which it is to them, but then
Mhm.
there's also the more things change, the more they stay the same. But it sounds like, you're saying, well, you know what? No, it doesn't necessarily stay the same. The world changes and the world evolves, and we have to adapt to that. um, why do you think so many people struggle with mindset issues?
Because they don't realize it's their mindset that's creating a reality. They think it's the external factors that they need to respond to that's going to change something, which is similar to you looking in the mirror right now, you seeing yourself frown, but you expecting there to be a smile in the mirror.
Yeah,
So a lot of people are expecting their reality to change externally without taking the time to do the internal work to make sure that they're smiling on the inside so that it can reflect that with everybody they see, everything that they do, and all the experiences that they have externally. And so we have to reverse and kind of do this complete 180 of a paradigm shift of I don't need to see it to believe it. I need to believe it in order to see it. And that
yeah.
mindset shift is what creates your reality and brings everything into physical fruition. And so that's one of the core tenets of what I teach my students and my community is understanding how reality creation works, understanding how the wealthy build wealth, going from the poor dad mentality to the rich dad mentality. And really, how do you apply this not only to your business, but to your life, everything that you do?
Well, let's talk about that a little bit because it's a fine line between personal development and business coaching and life coaching. There are different issues that we're tackling in each, but a lot of the same mindset issues permeate that, those worlds. We have attitudes about money. We have stories we tell ourselves about money. How people are supposed to behave. What are some common misperceptions that clients have when they come to talk to you and try to get themselves aligned?
If I work really hard, then I'll make a lot of money.
Hmm.
If I push in this direction, and then I should receive what it is that I'm looking for. If I stay just consistently doing this for a long period of time, and then I should see results.
Yeah.
And and it's the way that we've been taught. You put your head down, you work really hard. After about 30 years, you should be able to retire from what you're doing and and really make a living. But what people don't realize is you can work extremely hard in the wrong direction. And
Mhm.
when you're working extremely hard in the wrong direction, it's not that you're losing time, but it is pushing a huge rock up a hill. And so, yes, the universe and the people around you are going to show you, like, hey, maybe you might want to go left or maybe you might want to go right. But why do it so? Why, why put yourself through so much pain and struggle when you can
Mhm.
make life really easily by just sliding down the hill? And so it's not a matter of working really hard. It's not a matter of having the right brand or the right marketing, tactic or strategy, because those are always going to change and you're always chasing a moving goalpost. It's a matter of really understanding what your mentality is to actually create the solutions to the previous problems that you have. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of people are trying to solve problems at the same level that they created them, and it just doesn't work. I'm trying to create a brand at the same level that I create. I'm trying to create a different brand at the same level that I created the old brand. I'm trying to create a new marketing strategy at the same level that I create the problems that's not allowing me to bring in clients. You
Right.
have to overcome the habit of being your whole self, which just means that you have to have a much more expansive mindset, level of consciousness in order to overcome the previous mindset that created the problem that you're trying to fix in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting cycle that we get ourselves into, and it's a good point that you make, which is, we hear the phrase, "Don't work harder, work smarter," but we
Mhm.
don't often know what that means.
Exactly.
I have, heard that phrase and then thought to myself, well, I thought I'm using my time well and practically and logically. I thought I was putting the right effort into the right things. But as you point out, if you're going the wrong direction, it doesn't matter how right your time management is. It's not a time management problem, it's a bigger picture issue,
Hmm.
right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a bigger picture issue. And it's one of those situations where it takes a lot of, they kind of, in mindfulness, they talk about taking the pause. A lot of people are so busy running in one direction, so busy doing so many different things that they don't
Yeah.
take a moment to sit back and say, okay, what's working, what's not working, and where does my soul want me to go?
Yeah.
So they're going based off of repetition and who they've been, their old self-image, which is going to continue to give them similar responses in a different form. It's, have you ever met somebody and they just keep, well, one of your single friends, and they just keep dating the same type of woman or man?
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, this one is going to be different. Bob, he smiled at me, he bought me a drink, and he wasn't disrespectful. He walked me to my car, and this one is going to be different. And about a month or two later, Bob is just the same as James and Bill and everybody else. And you're like, man, this person just can't get a break. It's
Right.
just a continuous pattern. And it's because nothing's changed.
Yeah.
The person has changed, the situation has changed, but their belief systems haven't changed, which created their thoughts. And their thoughts
Yeah.
haven't changed, which have generated these emotions, and those emotions haven't changed, which has motivated them to take different actions, and those actions haven't changed, which is what you need in order to really produce a different result.
Yeah.
So,
Well, speaking of which, one of the things you talk about is, having a bad money mindset,
hmm,
right? What's your take on that?
a bad money mindset is keeping a similar mindset around money that has kept you at the same place that you don't want to be.
Hmm.
So a bad money mindset could be, I'm making a $50,000 a year, and you all of a sudden get some new clients, podcast goes wild, and you start making $100,000 a year. And you're like, man, I'm really doing it right now. But you brought on $50,000 worth of expenses.
Yeah.
So you're at the same level that you were before, but you got bigger problems. You got more money to spend on it. That's a
Yeah.
bad money mindset. You're
Well,
going
also,
nowhere really fast.
Michael, in that situation, you may be limiting yourself in terms of the money you're allowing yourself to make, right? In other words, you have this ceiling of what you like. If I just could double what I'm making, that would be amazing, right? But that's
Mhm.
not necessarily a plan. So in coaching your clients, what would you tell somebody like that who had, let's say, relative to last year, twice as well? They did twice as well as the previous year, but that's kind of all of a sudden that's where it stopped, and like you say, they started having more money to put at more problems. So what techniques would you maybe use with somebody like that?
Well, I mean, first we need to identify the problem. You got a bigger boat, but then you have a bigger hole that you need to fill. So it's still sinking,
Yeah.
it's just a bigger boat and it's more beautiful that's sinking. So you're like, okay, well, it's not the boat that's the problem, it's the hole. And so the whole is the limiting beliefs. The whole is, the thought process. The whole is the mentality. That's going to stay with you regardless of how big the yoke goes from a catamaran to a yacht. It's just going to be the same thing. So the techniques that I always teach is really going back to a level of awareness and clarity.
Hmm.
Everything starts with a level of awareness and clarity. Most people don't spend enough time in awareness and clarity. I teach a framework called the C3 method, and that's clarity, confidence, consistency. And it's this wheel that just kind of continues to go around. First, you start with clarity, then you get to confidence, and then you consistently build your reality. If you can have clarity 100% of the time, and you can be confidently clear 100% of the time, then you can consistently create the reality that you want. Clarity, confidence, consistency. That's the
I like
C
that.
method.
Yeah.
And so in between that, it's like, well, how do I get from clarity to confidence? Well, you get to clarity through awareness. It all starts with awareness. There's a problem. There's a problem that I want to change. I have a health issue. I really don't like this feeling anymore. Then you get to clarity. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to change my diet. That's the clarity. Then you get there, you get to the gym, and you're like, okay, now I'm going to lift these weights. And then you're like, these weights are too hard for me. I got to leave after 10 minutes. I've never been in the gym before. Look at all these people. They're here for hours and and so you're meeting the resistance. And then next week comes, you're super sore and you're like, still meeting resistance. Week after that, still meeting resistance. And you're meeting resistance until you finally have that breakthrough. And you're like, man, I was able to get through a full workout and not run away. And I was able to do that for 30 minutes or an hour. And then you can just kind of do that a little bit more and more. That's how you get to the confidence. Then you start building that confidence. And you're like, man, now I'm getting some momentum. And that momentum is what's going to keep you in the gym or keep you focused on your health or keep you focused on your wealth or your money and the discipline that you need to consistently build your reality. So what I give to my clients are these very simple frameworks that they can apply to any part of their lives. And the reason why I say any part of their lives, and we're not just focused on money, is because what I teach is wealth. I'm a wealth mindset coach. Wealth is your spirituality. What's your connection to something outside of you when you look in the mirror and say, I can't do this anymore? What are you relying on? What kind of higher power are you relying on? Wealth is finances. When you're looking at your money or how fast it's growing or how fast it's deteriorating. Wealth is your family. Who are the people that I have around me that love and support me, my community? Wealth is time. I'm making a lot of money, but I have no time to actually spend it and really do the things that I want to do with it. It doesn't make any sense. Make it make sense. So wealth is all of these different categories. And when you can really build your wealth profile and your wealth portfolio, that to me is when you have completed the cycle of the C3 method. And then you just rinse, repeat, and you keep doing that. So that is one of the most simplest frameworks that I give to my clients. And I walk you through that each step of the way. Because for some people, that takes, you know, 10 days. Some people it's 10 months, other people it's 10 years. But regardless, you can always look at that map and say, where am I in this map? This is the help that I need. This is the support I'm getting. And this is how, and this is where I'm going. And this is what I need to ask for in order to get there.
Now, this leads to a great place in our conversation, which is, you know, knowing where you are is, half the battle. Now, what about external forces? Our world that we live in is crazy, it's chaotic, it's unstable, and it can really bring us down or distract us. Is there a way to stay focused and keep our eye on the ball with the things we want to accomplish to have a wealthy life as you've described it?
Yeah, well, hers, that's the mastery. That's the discipline. So you said, the awareness of where you are is half the battle. I think that's about 90% of the battle.
Mm, yeah.
You got to think about it with people with alcoholics in Alcoholics Anonymous or they're going through rehab. The thing that takes them the longest to get there is their ability to become aware that I have a problem and I need to do something about it now. Most of the time, people's pain isn't great enough for them to make a change. So if the pain isn't great enough for you to make a change, you're going to continue to stay in that until it hurts too much. And then you're going to say, okay, now I need to change. So it's about the awareness. But then when you're getting past the awareness, and you're like, okay, I'm actually going to do something about it. That's when we move all the way to the confidence and consistency. And so your question is, how do you stay calm in the eye of the storm?
Mm,
There's all these external things going on around you. And that's where we come into this mindset mastery, this wealth mastery, this energy mastery that I teach, because it's a discipline for you to continue. If we take you, for example, it's a discipline for you to wake up every day and you to interview hundreds of people. You could easily wake up and say, hey, I'm just going to do one per year and hope that this is going to create the lifestyle that I want. It's a discipline for you to wake up and say, I know that's not going to push the needle. I need to wake up. I need to provide. I need to market. I need to, yes, brand needs to be on this and that. And we need to really move this forward. And so the same type of discipline that people take in building a brand, building a podcast, it's the same type of discipline they need to build in their spiritual life, their wealth mentality, their health, their family, their time, every single thing, because it just doesn't happen overnight. I'm sure when you first started this podcast, it was probably hard getting people to come on. You're like, all right, yeah, maybe my cousin might come on, and maybe maybe I can interview like my partner, because maybe my mom, she's
yeah.
always supporting me. I don't know. And then after a while, people are like, yeah, this is a great brand. Yes, brand, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so you get people like me who just reach out to you now. You're now attracting that. And you're like, hey, I never met Michael before. He reached out to me, but my brand is so strong enough that I'm no longer marketing, I'm now attracting. But that took time
Yeah.
and that took consistency. And over time, in being consistent, you will learn how to weather any storm if you just stick with it. And
I
that's
love
the
it.
best thing that I can teach people. There's no shortcut to success.
Yeah. No, I love it, Michael. So let the audience know where they can find you. This has been amazing. I really appreciate your coming on and sharing some of these tips and methods, and getting into it a little bit. So tell the audience where they can get a hold of you.
You can find me on any platform at Michael A. Blunt at Instagram.com, Facebook, microwaveblunt.com, my website. And, you can look at any of the plethora of ways to work with me if you want to take this a bit further. But what I would really suggest, rather than giving your audience, my handles and stuff like that, check out some of my free stuff. Go to the YouTube, go to my Instagram. I have a challenge that, it's called the Make More Money Challenge that I do every other month. We just had an extremely successful challenge, and we've been making people money, based on some of these concepts and these frameworks hand over fist. I also have a free school community where I'm providing videos and different ways for you to really interact with this. So I really encourage people to get into the free stuff that I have first. And if you want to go further, and if you want to actually me to walk you to the mountaintop, if you want 2025 to be your year, then let's talk. Let's talk after that, after you've taken all the free stuff.
Thanks so much for tuning into Truth Tastes Funny. If you enjoyed the experience, please leave a 5-star review and share this podcast with your friends.